Alright, so this is the final stage of your Cubie monster. You should have designed your Cubie monster with all the different parts. You can check those parts by turning this light bulb off and on to see what parts you are going to print. Ideally, you would have printed these all as different parts so that they go in and out of the body. I'll show you another example. Here's another Cubie monster. Obviously he's upside down. I'll show you how to flip him around in a second. But we should be able to turn those bodies, those separate parts, off and on. It works a lot better if we convert a body into a component. So that one's been converted into a component, while this body here is still just a standalone body. To change it into a component, we right click on this and then go to create component from body. Now we've got two components sitting in there, which looks a lot nicer. From there, we can then, this one here, okay. From there, we can right click on each one of those parts and save it as STL to print. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is go to make. This is probably a better way. 3D print. And we should be able to choose a custom one, which will go to Z Suite. You'll need to open Z Suite on your C drive, program files, and Zortrax. It's in here, and that's the program we'll open with. Open that up. And once you go OK, that is going to automatically open up the Zortrax software, the Z Suite, like this, and put your part into the center of that. Now what I'm going to encourage you to do is, if you go then back to Fusion and do the same for the other one, select this one and go make, you can go back in 3D print, or you can go into save as STL and then import that file into the Zortrax software. So I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to save that one and save it onto your D drive for now. Make sure it's your name. Cubie. And then you'll be able to open that file. If I go to D drive, open that in the Zortrax software. And it should automatically come back onto this one as a new project. And it's imported that one. Ideally, we want to print a few of these different models all in the one go. So instead of printing just that and then coming back and printing just that, all we need to do is select that and copy it. We're using Control-C and then Control-V is paste, and then I'll automatically paste it in there. I encourage everyone to put more than one Cubie monster in there. So grab a friend's profiles and print them all out at once. Then you're going to save time. Anyone that's got more than one Cubie monster on the platform, you'll get prioritized to be the first ones to print. If you've just got the one Cubie monster, you go to the back of the line. You're going to then go through and analyze it from there. All right. I think we've done this before, so that is how we do that part. You should know how to do this part. Go through support, generate, comes up with some scaffolding, printer settings, make sure you pick 14 layer thickness, it's ABS, 10% infill, and then you'll hit preview. And it will come up with the printer material, how long it's going to take, and the amount of filament you're going to use. It takes a little while to generate this. The bigger the file is, or the more files you have in here, the longer it will take to generate. And then you'll export it. The next one will be export to an SD card that goes into the printer. Alright, while that's happening, that's just about to jump across. I'm going to go back to this one. We need to do a drawing file. To do a drawing file, we want to make sure the Cubie monster is up the correct direction. So I'm going to go to the front and clearly that is not the front. So I want to find a way to put him up the correct way. So I now know that is the front. So what I'm going to do is right click on that, set current view as front. So now it's rechanged the orientation. If I click on, oh no, that's not right. Yep, so if I click on front, and then it's got my left side, my top, and my bottom, and that will then import it into the drawing file in the correct dimensions. So go to the drawing file, which is the bottom one. We've done model, and we can also do render. Render is when we generate a photo or a photorealistic image of your Cubie monster, a digital version. We can put appearances on there using this one. The default is this boring grey. I would select something that's a bit fun. Let's go paint and a glossy paint. I'm just going to chuck on a blue one for there and a gold one for his head to make him look cool. Then we can go to render in Canvas. Once it gets to excellent, you can screenshot that and then put that image onto your OneNote file so that you can demonstrate that you've finished your Cubie monster. That takes a little while to render. We'll come back to that later. Just you need to wait till it goes excellent. Print screen, you've got a print screen on the keyboard. Once you hit print screen, it'll take a photo of the shot and that can go straight into your digital folio. All right, we're going to jump out of that and then go to drawing file. And from design, make sure you save it as your name again. Save. And it'll generate a new file. We want to only print the Cubie monsters on A4. So this is A4 here, but that's the wrong orientation. So let's go to that A4, press OK. It's going to generate a new file up here. Note that we can have more than one file open in Fusion at a time. So that's the model. This is the drawing file, and that's my other example of a Cubie monster. Alright, if you have your Cubie monster open in the background, it'll automatically select that Cubie monster to be imported. Otherwise, it'll come up with file and you'll have to select where you've saved it to. So I'm going to click here, the front view, and I want a wireframe for this one. And I think 1:2 scale isn't quite big enough to fill up this section. So I'm going to go 1 to 1.5. Scale slightly bigger, and that looks like it's going to fit pretty nicely on there. And then I go OK. The color will disappear. We don't need the color for our measurements. We will put the color into one isometric image, not the orthographic. This is the orthographic projection now. We do a top view and a side view, and then finally our isometric view. Once you're happy with that, right click, go OK. Now I'll go back to wireframe, double click on that blue line and change it to this one here, which will color it in, but you'll still see the hidden line. Actually, isometric, I'll change that just to the shaded view. All right, and close. From there, what we can do is we can go to the dimension tool, grab some dimensions, and dimension as much of our Cubie monster as possible. All right, so we want to get all the dimensions of the outsides of your Cubie monster. Remember, too many dimensions is never enough. All right, the more dimensions, the more you can get information off there. So imagine that someone else is coming along and recreating your Cubie monster. They need all the measurements of every single part of your Cubie monster to remake it. All right, so I'm just going to go through and keep clicking on these until I get all the measurements. I want to be able to zoom in to be able to get select parts. Make sure you don't go to radiuses. You want to go to the very outside and pull it down there. So I'm going to stop there and let you work out the rest of your dimensions. I would assume that there's at least 20 measurements of dimensions on this file before you print it. This will need to be screenshotted again and put into your OneNote digital file once finished.